Hey guys, what is up? Dude Man here, back with another video. And today's video is going to be my review of Attack on Titan Volume 13. And this video is going to be completely and utterly spoil-filled. So if you don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and leave now. But I appreciate your view anyway. So this volume ends up covering chapters 51 through 54, I believe, and it starts off right where the last one left off with, with the aftermath of them just getting Eren back from the Bertolt and Rainer, which are the Colossal and the Armored Titan, and of course Ymir has gone off with them. What's his name? Erwin has lost his arm. Then it cuts to Erwin being in the hospital because, he's lost his arm. And it's just him and Levi kind of having a conversation. And then that's when Connie and Hanji come in. And they're like, hey, we kind of have this theory that maybe Titans are actually people, humans. And, of course, they explained this. Connie and Hanji ended up coming with this theory they ended up going back to Connie's hometown. And there, they compare a picture of a Titan to Connie's mom, and he's like, this looks kind of like my mom, and it's this house that the Titan is laying on. And the fact the house looks like it kind of exploded from the inside out, and also that there's no sign of a struggle anywhere, there's no blood. And so that's why they kind of came up with the theory that maybe somehow people are being turned into Titans. So at that moment, you're like, maybe it's true. I didn't really, I know I always knew that the Titans look like humans, but I always thought it might have been, a little bit more complicated than just people being turned into Titans. I thought they were just some type of monsters from somewhere, but, So then Levi kind of drops a bomb too. He's like, I already got my new team all set up, or who he wants to be on his new team, now that since his old team died, fighting the female Titan. And those people are the people that you see on this cover, the people, the rookies that we all know and love. So Levi ends up kind of moving his new team out to like the countryside so they can do some different stuff here and there. And then at that, so while the new team is kind of moving all their stuff into this little countryside house that they're going to be living in for a little, which seems like it's going to be a little while, Eren kind of has a little flashback to Levi's old team, and he's like, and then he sees his rookie friends. He's like, I really hope they don't have the same fate. You know what I mean? On to chapter 52. So first thing we find out that Pastor Nick is dead, and Pastor Nick is the one that seemed to know something about there being a colossal Titan inside the wall. So they kind of took him in for an investigation. But then Hanji comes and finds out that he's been killed, and she thinks it's the military police that did it. She's like 100% sure that it was the military police that killed him. And her theory to why the military police killed Pastor Nick is because they were scared that he might have told, Hanji or whoever else about whatever was going on, so they went ahead and killed him off. And it doesn't really seem like anybody's doing anything about the fact that somebody killed Pastor Nick, which adds on to Hanji's theory that the military police are the one who did it. Then we end up getting, the backstory to Krista / her story, whatever you want to call her. We find out that she grew up on the farm with her grandparents and her mom who never talked to her and never really showed her any type of love or anything along those lines, and she ends up doing chores around the farm and other stuff like that. So like one day, Krista, it's where she's really kind of young, like I'm not sure what age I can say, maybe 8 or so or something along those lines, I'm guessing. And it's during around that age, and she decides, hey, I'm going to try to give my mom a hug today, and her mom's just kind of like chill up on a tree, reading a book, because her mom doesn't seem to do anything around the house whatsoever. It's always Krista that's doing all the little work around the farm, and her mom's just always chilling, and her mom seems to go out at night and stuff, but for some reason she's like, I'm gonna try to give my mom a hug today. So she ends up going over to her mom to try to give her a hug, but she ends up tripping and she ends up falling onto her mom's lap, and her mom just tosses her off of her. And the crazy thing is that Krista is actually happy because this is the first time her mom has ever done anything to her, and it's like, that's pretty sad right there. And then her mom looks over at Krista or her story, whatever you want to call her, and she's like, if only I had the courage to kill this girl. That's legit what she says. She's not thinking this in her head. She's legit says this to her. She doesn't even refer to Krista by her name. She's like, this girl, and that's just stone cold right there. And you're just kind of stuck there like, what's the story behind this? Why does she want to kill Krista or want to kill her or something? What's going on? So after that incident, her mom somehow, some way ends up leaving for a few years. And then a few years ends up passing, and her dad shows up, and this will be the first time she ever meets her dad. And I also forgot to mention before, when her mom told her, I wish I had the courage to kill this girl, those were her first, those are the first words that Krista remembers her mom ever saying to her. So yeah, her dad shows up with her mom, and his dad's like, you're gonna come live with me now. And as I think they're about to leave, they get surrounded by this group of people. Then one of the men that are surrounding them ends up grabbing on to Krista's mom, and her mom starts yelling out, I'm not this child's mother. I have nothing to do with her. And it's like, dang, girl. And the guy that seems to be holding Krista's mom is like, is this true? You know, talking to Krista's father. And he's like, very well. Neither of these two girls are related to me. So what ends up happening is that our mom ends up dying anyway. You know, the guy like slits her throat, but right before the guy kills her, Krista's mom looks at Krista and she's like, if only you weren't born, and that's when the guy kills her, right in front of Krista. So right before they're about to kill Historia, her father's like, wait, Historia, if you like move far away and change your name to Krista, we'll leave you alone, and that's what ends up happening. And that's the end to her flashback, and that is also the end of chapter 52. And man, she has a pretty messed up past, but we still don't know why she does. So now we're moving on to chapters 53, and in this chapter we seem to learn a lot about Aaron's Titan form. It starts out with Aaron, you know, waking up out of bed. He's like, man, what happened? And we find out that he's been knocked out for an entire day. And that's when Hanji, Levi kind of talked to him about what happened the previous day, just why he was, you know, why he was in bed for an entire day. And the reason why he was knocked out for an entire day was because he was repeatedly using his Titan form so they can perform tests to see, you know, if he can harden his body and other things along those lines. So what they did during these tests while he was in his Titan form is that they tested to see if he can follow instructions, like, you know, do like a Simon Says type of thing. They saw that he can build like a small house type of, you know, that kind of like the structure of a small house. They tried to get him to talk, which doesn't work. And they also, he's also, for some reason, while he's in his Titan form, I think he mentions something about his dad when he takes like a stick and writes it in the sand or something. And also what he writes in the sand is that I don't know how to harden my body or something along those lines in the sand while he's in Titan form. We also learned that the more he transforms repeatedly, the weaker his Titan is, like, and how more or less he can't really control his Titan. Like, the more he became a Titan, the dumber his Titan kind of became, a little more wild his Titan kind of became. And also, he couldn't do something else. What was it? It wasn't that he couldn't do anything else, it's that every time he transformed, his Titan got smaller and smaller. So even though it was a fail that they couldn't get him to harden his body, it was a success by learning all the different things he can and can't do while in his Titan form. Then after they are done talking to him, for some reason he gets like a flash of a girl that looks like Historia, but with long black hair, and it's like, he's like, who is that? He's like, it looks like Krista, but it's not. Who was that? He doesn't tell anybody that he had that image of that girl. He kind of just keeps that to himself. So then it cuts to see what Erwin is up to, and it seems like he's been royally summoned somewhere. So he's on his way there, but on his way there, he's also talking to one of his old friends, I'm guessing from when he was back in training camp and all the other. He talks to him about how Pastor Nick is dead and all the other stuff that's going on, and the guy's like, hey, we just follow orders from the higher ups. Not that his friend has done any of the things like has anything to really do with that. He just follows orders or whatever. Then Erwin, for some reason, ends up asking his friend about his wife, and he's like, you know, she's fine. She's doing fine and everything. And he's like, I still can't believe that you gave up her to go, you know, Titan hunting and all that junk. Yeah, Erwin gave up a relationship so he could pursue Titans. You know, I guess that's kind of noble. Then we end up cutting back to these guys, and we see that they got a message from Erwin saying to leave the area, leave the cabin that they're staying in, because, you know, the military police is coming to like burn their house down or whatever. And so that's exactly what they end up doing. They pack up their things and they leave, and sure enough, as they look back, and when they're a decent distance away, when they look back, they see that the place they were just at is on fire. So yes, so somehow Erwin was able to get some information out to them that warned them and all this stuff. It's like, it's crazy what's going on. So they end up in this town where Aaron and Historia are captured, but it's not really actually Historia and Aaron that are captured. It's actually what's his name, Jean and Armin that are captured, because they dress up Armin to look like Historia, and they dress up Jean to look like Aaron. Now we're on to the last chapter of this volume, which is chapters 54. And it starts out with Historia having some type of dream where in this dream she's younger again, like when she's like 8 or 9 again. And in this dream she seems to be hanging out with the girl that Aaron had an image of, you know, the girl that looks like Krista but with long hair. And we find out that this girl is Krista's sister. And then you know, Historia ends up waking up from this dream, but she doesn't remember the dream. And also with the fact that she doesn't remember what dream she was having, she also doesn't remember the fact that she has her sister. So for some reason, I'm guessing her sister has some type of ability to remove herself from Krista's memory. It's weird. What's going on? And before we go on, you may be wondering, where are Krista and Aaron? Since they're not the ones that actually got captured in the last chapter, where are they? They seem to be at some other random location, you know, some other little cabins. So since they seem to be in this cabin alone, they kind of have a little conversation, a little heart to heart. You know, they're just talking with each other about some random stuff, talking about the situation. And Aaron's like, hey, don't you think we should be a little bit more worried about our friends? And then Krista's like, no, Krista was worried, maybe worried about her friends, but Historia isn't. I'm not Krista anymore. I'm Historia now. And you think that Aaron would get all, you know, riled up and stuff about at this point in time, but he's like, nah. It's like, know what? I like you. You know, you're just a normal girl who's absurdly honest. Then it cuts to the other guys going to save, you know, Gene and Armin. I don't know why I always trip him on his name. So yeah, they go out and save those two, and they end up capturing the boss of this operation. And the boss seems to be the same guy that was if you guys remember back, is the guy that was blocking the blocking the exit when all the Titans that came in the. When all the Titans came to attack, he was blocking the exit with his big old carriage, and that's when Mikasa came and was like, you better move that mother trucking carriage or I'm going to cut you. And that's when he moves it and everything, so you guys remember that? So then Levi ends up having a conversation with him where the boss guy ends up kind of explaining himself, tells him kind of like why they're doing this. He's like, we don't know exactly. The boss guy's like, look, we're just kind of following the orders. If we don't do this, we're going to be, my men, they're going to be thrown out on the street. We're not going to have jobs. They're going to come out and kill us anyway, or, you know, something along those lines. And then Levi's like, you know what, we'll go ahead and give you Krista and Aaron. And of course, Mikasa's like, WTF are you doing, man? I'm gonna have to cut you. You can tell that Levi does have some type of plan, but you know, it's whatever at this point in time. So he's like, yeah, we'll go ahead and give you our two guys, but under 3 conditions. I have to read this part out the book. So one is that from now on, the Reeves Company will join the Survey Corps in opposing the Interior Military Police Brigade, as well as the royal government and its decrees. 2, the Reeves Company will trust the Survey Corps wholeheartedly, as in no questions asked, you do what we say. You're gonna trust us. 3, from now on, the Survey Corps will receive priority access to any rare or luxury food, drink, products the Reeves Company obtains. And the boss guy's like, you know what, you're not leaving me much choice. You know, what other choice do I have? Okay, he agrees to the agreement, and that's when, you know, the volume ends. So this was a pretty decent volume. We did learn a whole bunch. I got my little list of things that we learned. We learned about the theory that they have about the Titans. We also learned about the military police is after them for one reason or another. We learned a little bit about Krista/Historia's past, and we learned a little bit more about Aaron's Titan form. So I'm going to go ahead and give Volume 13 of Attack on Titan a 7 out of 10, because we do learn a whole bunch of stuff, but that just leaves us with a lot more questions, like, if it's true that humans are Titans, how did he turn into Titans, you know? Why is Krista's past/Historia's past like that? Like, why does her mom despise her and all this other junk? Why does the military police want Aaron so badly? What other stuff can, you know, Aaron do in his Titan form? You know, just a whole bunch of questions that aren't answered yet. So that's why I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. So if you guys like the video, like the video. And if you guys like me, subscribe to me. And as always, it is DJ's Man, and I'll catch y'all next time.